To examine art as it relates to culture, we chose to explore one central question. What characteristics make certain art pieces transcend cultures and others remain unique to their origin? After analyzing different pieces of art and discussing as a group, we came to this conclusion. While all art can be aesthetically appreciated without context, a culture's unique intrinsic values and moral canons, as well as ideals of beauty, can make an art piece impossible to fully understand to a foreigner. In 1831, Japanese artist Hokusai created the Great Wave of Kanagawa, more commonly known as simply the Wave or the Great Wave. It is a woodblock print that features a huge wave threatening boats, with Mount Fuji in the background. It is Hokusai's most famous work, and for the Western world it is one of the most famous pieces of Japanese art. The aesthetic beauty of the print has helped it gain notoriety in the Western world. Additionally, the maritime scene depicted by Hokusai helps the piece transcend culture. In Britain during the same time period, artist J.M.W. Turner was also painting maritime scenes. The Wave is actually the first in a 36-part series called The 36 Views of Mount Fuji. While viewers can appreciate the beauty of the wave, they cannot understand the true meaning of the art because they do not understand the mountain's cultural significance in Japan. However, much of Hokusai's other works are not as well known in the Western world. While a shipwreck scene is easily understood across cultures, his work that features cherry blossoms, Mount Fuji, and other more traditional Japanese scenes is less relatable and therefore less known outside of Japan. Adaptations of Winnie the Pooh are very popular in both Russia and the US, and while they came from the same story, these two on-screen interpretations are very different. The first thing an American points out about the Soviet version, Winnie Pooh, is relatively muted colors and the simple backgrounds, which are actually children's drawings. They pale in comparison to the bright, almost neon colors of the American cartoon. These aesthetic differences result in varying tastes among viewers of different nationalities. The laconic, minimalist approach to Winnie Pooh seems unappealing and unprofessional to someone who didn't grow up with it. However, to a Russian viewer, the cartoon evokes pure and unrefined feelings of childlike love and compassion, even if the setting isn't always bright and the characters aren't always smiling. On the other hand, the bright and constantly cheery, clearly defined images of the American cartoon can portray a general feeling of happiness, which can be argued as more suitable for children. As a result, both cartoons can be appreciated aesthetically, but we will always give preference to the one that relates to our cultural origins. Another question we discussed was, to what extent can art be understood and appreciated without cultural context? We thought that The Last Supper, painted by Leonardo da Vinci in the late 1490s, was a prime example for the importance of the understanding of cultural context. To someone who is not a religious person, The Last Supper is just another painting, while to someone who is religious, The Last Supper tells the story of the last meal Jesus shared with his disciples before his crucifixion. The painting can be used to spread the ideas and values of Catholicism. Therefore, this piece of art can be appreciated without cultural context, but cannot be fully understood without background knowledge in what this painting is supposed to represent.
Another question we considered was, to what extent does the purpose of a work of art influence its ability to transcend culture? Let's compare art used for the purpose of propaganda versus art used for the purpose of commenting on the human condition. Governments might use artistic posters to encourage their people to participate in a war or to support a new social program that does not apply to citizens of other countries. Other countries will never see this propaganda, no matter how beautifully it is put together. This piece of art is not versatile. Meanwhile, an artist who creates a painting to speak to the relationship of a mother and her child, or to the passing of time, is more relatable to a larger audience. This piece of art brings out an emotion that people around the world can share. In this way, one might argue that instrumental music is the art form most capable of transcending culture. Instrumental music does not try to convey a specific message intended for a specific audience. Rather, music is used to make the listener feel a certain way. People can relate to the feeling of happiness or sadness regardless of what culture they come from.
However, this is not the only way to examine this topic. For many, art can be both appreciated for its aesthetic value and understood when it's connected to a universal theme or emotion, like love or jealousy. Many would argue that great art evokes emotion, and this power of art overcomes cultural boundaries.